Well, here I am again. It's Larry Steinhouse, and this is the Larry Steinhouse Show. How cool is this? What an awesome day. What an awesome day. What an awesome day. I've got so many good people that I've had on today, and now I've got another good person. And this person is actually becoming a friend. It's Ian Walsh, and Ian Walsh is with Hard Money Bankers. To me, Ian is just one of those great guys. Look, if you need to learn how to invest in real estate, obviously you come to us, and we're going to tell you to learn how to use hard money bankers, or hard money lenders, that is. And I like the idea that Ian has coined the phrase hard money bankers in his name of his company. So Ian, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and why you do what you do?
Cool. I'd be happy to. First, I'd like to say, Larry, thanks for having me, man. I think this, so there's not too many marketing ideas that come out at this point. I do a lot of marketing myself that I'm like, that was really innovative and really cool. This was good. And then I came into this room and I was like, what is this? So the setup you have here, people, you get a picture of this place.
I do actually. What's up right now is if you turn around, there's a camera behind you. Wave to it.
Okay.
And that camera shows all the equipment.
It's more impressive in person. Like if you can get close to this, I was like, wow. So props to you doing this, man. So
Thanks,
well
man.
done. So yeah, Hard Money Bankers, man. Honestly, it's just a fancy way of saying I'm a private lender. And we just lend a lot of money. We do a ton in the area, about $40 million yearly, and that's our thing. So, if you got a fix and flip loan, I'm usually the guy. I'm going to get a phone call. I'm going to tell you quickly, and if we like the deal and I commit to it, I'm going to find a way to get it done. So, that's it. I mean, that's my business.
Yeah, so actually recently you helped one of our students get a loan, which I thought was awesome too. And I'll be honest with you, I thought it was very well handled. The student had some issues, but it had nothing to do with you. It had to do with just some strange things that, some I guess misinterpretations that he had, that again had nothing to do with you. But it was interesting because, you and I got on the phone and we resolved that problem so fast that I was not only impressed by the fact that you got him a loan so fast. You basically approved him in 24 hours, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then from there it went very simple, and then he had a couple of issues that we had to fix that had again nothing to do with it. I don't want to get into the issues.
Sure.
It's kind of weird, and then we just solved it. We solved it with again another thing within 24 hours. So you were definitely a hero to my student, and I think that was fantastic.
And I appreciate that. Yeah, and I really, honestly, part of that, let's not give all credit to me because it had a lot to do with, honestly, you coming in and understanding where I was coming from. So you've been around this game enough to know, when I was like, this is why I need this, Larry. And it wasn't like you were like, oh, I get why you need this, why it has to happen this way. Okay, cool. And then we adjusted, right? Because it wouldn't have if I probably had a less seasoned person on the other side of the phone, it would have been a much longer conversation and explaining and trying to get. And you were like, no, I get it. I understand what's going on here. And then we got to a quick resolution and we closed. So
right, exactly, right.
But
and
yeah,
everybody was happy. And it was a great day, right?
Worked out fine.
Right.
So it's great.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, Bill's come to me plenty of times and said, wow, this was just so great that we were able to work this out. But more importantly, I want to find out a little bit about you and how you became you, because technically, it's amazing to me that I find that you were like this with this band of people. Was it Power? You with Power, or no? You hang around with the people from Power, right?
Power what?
Power Windows? Yeah. No. You hang around with those people. That's not you.
Oh, you're talking
right?
about, so there was a bunch of guys that came from there.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm cool with George and Evan and stuff like
sure.
that. Good guys. It was actually I don't know what Power Home Remodel, I feel like every company should go out and recruit from their crop of people. I'm like, they put out serious talent from that company. But no, I come from a totally different cut.
So what was your background before you were doing this?
So I originally in 2008 started wholesaling because I didn't have any money. Great way if you're getting into the business to learn the business and make some money. And we used to start doing a couple hundred deals a year.
So why don't you tell people? Obviously, I know, right?
Yeah.
But why don't you have a big wholesaling business?
Sure.
But why don't you tell people what wholesaling is and how you were doing it?
Honestly, it was like, okay, how do you get in front of investors? You market. And so wholesaling, for everybody who wants to know, is typically when you put a property under contract that gives you the rights to assign that contract to somebody else. And what you do then is, if you get a contract with a seller low enough or at a price that makes sense for you, that you can sell it at a higher price, or the rights to the contract at a higher price to an end buyer or an investor that'll pay that price, then you do that. Everybody, works. The seller got what they want, you got what you want, so there's maybe a few $1,000 spread in between, and the investor said, I didn't have to lift any weights to get this done. Great, it was delivered on my plate. The numbers work. Fantastic. So once I figured out the logistics of that, I realized this whole game is just marketing. The whole game, whether you're in my business, that business. So then we went into property management to stabilize the cash flow of wholesaling, because it can get pretty volatile at times, especially when you're spending thousands and $20,000-$30,000 a month on the business.
Yeah, my spend is 20.
It's a ton,
exactly
man.
right. It's like $20,000 something dollars. Right.
So
exactly right.
And back then, they said, okay, so we stabilized it with a property management company. Looking back, even though that management company probably changed my life to this day for the better, I never would have done a management company again.
Oh, that's interesting to know. I'd like to hear about why you say that, because I've had those thoughts.
No.
Okay, I'm not doing it anymore.
Do whatever you want, but come talk to me at 100 properties, 300 properties, 600 properties, 2,000 properties. Like, each step is, honestly, like, until you get to 600 or 700 properties, you really aren't making any money. And,
really?
Oh my gosh! And
so wow, I mean, I find that fascinating. I thought it was. I thought the break even. I mean, I've run break even numbers at around 50.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how at 600 you don't
scale, doing it right. Then all of a sudden you start departmentalizing the company, because you have so many accounts you have to handle. To do it right, you have to have, So I sold my company, TCS, in Center City. At this point, there's probably 30 people on staff, 5 departments, and you're talking millions of dollars in payroll just to run a management company. And to do it right, like, you have to do it right. And so like, the margins are just, honestly, if you're wholesaling, wholesale more.
Okay, good.
Honestly, that's my honest opinion. But I was fortunate enough to bump into a great guy, Ben Aller, and he sat down with me one day and said, I want to buy your company. His dad started the management industry in the 80s for HOAs, biggest in the country. Sold his, merged it public, all that kind of stuff. He goes, I'm doing the same thing again. With single families and so forth. So he bought my company, and then at that point we really started pushing our lending into the market space. So it changed my life for the better. Looking back, I wouldn't recommend doing it for any, but that's just me.
So tell me a little bit about the lending business. Like, look, everybody says, "Oh, the bubble's coming, the bubble's coming."
Yeah.
Are you afraid that you're going to be stuck with some problems?
Nah. So no. I mean, there'll be problems for sure. Everybody's gonna have problems, but so we're different than most lenders. We didn't take it national. We made the business decision to keep it local, because we'll have control over the scenario when it does happen and it does occur. I don't look at appraisals. Like, that's very dangerous to play that game as a lender, because if I did a loan in North Carolina, I have no resources, no understanding of that marketplace. In the event an appraiser who just maybe got nothing wrong with appraisers, but let's say they come out of class yesterday, learned how to do an appraisal, and they overvalued a house by $300,000, and I take a loan at 70 cents on the dollar that's overvalued by that much, and it's worth $600. That guy goes upside down, especially in a market that's turning on me. I'll lose $200,000 or $300,000 in that. So we know our markets that we underwrite in, so it's very important to us. So we're not afraid of the turn. Is it here? I saw this the other day, and you know this from trading. When everybody thinks one thing, it's probably not. It's probably the opposite, right? So right now, there seems to be a lot of people asking that question. So, I mean, there's no hard evidence, but strictly speaking, and I saw the last turn, I've seen when things have moved, I honestly think we might have hit the top in 2017, but I don't think we're looking at a crash right now. I think everybody thinks there's a crash coming, so I'm like, oh, there's no crash coming. Everybody else thinks there's a crash coming, so I don't think there's a crash.
I personally don't think there's a crash. I mean, I think we're at least two to 3 years away, and I don't know if that's
certainly possible. Yeah.
But again, I look at, and it's funny. You said you think it topped at 17. I don't think it's topped yet. I don't even think we're close yet. I think I see a chart, and again, you and I read charts differently. We've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
I saw what's called a breakout in the chart in 17, which means that now is when it starts to run. Now is when if it was an option or a stock, I should say, it would start to run now, and the market will run another couple of years easy, and then there'll be the drop.
So we could talk. So okay, let's go into. You want to talk trading for a minute?
Sure, whatever.
Okay.
Sure.
So typically, and I don't really tell anybody. I guess anybody watching the internet knows. So I've done quite a bit of trading over the years, and
I've heard, yeah.
So one thing that you tend to note, or that I tend to notice, is that you're right. Like when you have a breakout, and it either does two things: it runs or it consolidates.
Right.
But typically, what you're looking for is you want to be on the side. We're not smart money. We're not big money. We're just trying to follow it. That's what we do, right?
Sure.
So I have through the trading stuff that I do, I'm able to usually see it. I'm usually able to see where the smart money has been placed. And what happens typically that I've noticed is, so we might make that move on maybe the quarterly chart or the yearly chart, and then we sit there, and it might run. But what could be happening is it's basically like smart money position themselves, and then us, the dumb money, we'll call ourselves, then pushes it a little further. Not a lot, but a little bit. And that run that you're talking about, the next test would have to come when the smart money will retest the trend. But a lot of times at the top, you'll see smart money hit a little bit of a run, but that's usually followed by economic euphoria. So I don't see the euphoria right now either. 2017, unless I see 2017's craziness matched again, that was a wild spring that we had. We did not have, I don't know. If we see that again, I would say, hey, maybe we're still going up, like outside of the markets that you and I look at and on the charts. But that was a wild. So I was as a guess that it was 2017. And you're right, you could have a breakout with a run, but it might not be a run supported by smart money. I don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Well, of course. And here's the thing about chart reading. Chart reading is just educated guessing. Right, yeah. So you really don't. I mean, anything can change. Anything can make a chart go the other way.
You're hedging, yeah.
Right, and that's why you can't predict that far into the future. And you're right. So now what will happen is it'll drop down slightly to. It's supposed to drop down to the point of the breakout, and then if it bounces back off that point again, then it's all good news. But if it drops below that point, then you start to get nervous again. Facebook stock has been driving me crazy for the last 3 weeks because I got a heavy position in it, and it dropped below a point that I hoped it never would drop. Right. And then that dropped the next one. It didn't drop the third one because that would have been the one that we wouldn't have been able to have this conversation right now because I would have jumped off the bridge. So I'm only kidding, but but the idea is I could see that at chart read, and it's funny how what you said is you can sense smart money. I find it hysterical about chart reading how that happens. You can actually start to feel it.
Yeah,
it's like it grows inside you.
I've spent more than 10,000 hours in front of a chart, like ungodly amount of hours in front of it. So I mean, there's different tools that we use as well, but I can see, and honestly, a lot of it has been me losing to understand where the breaking points are. I always say this about the real estate market and the chart and the stock, any market, any cyclical market will find its max pain point. So like when you just said you broke through support once, you broke through support twice, and if it went to the third one, that would have been your max pain moment. Right. So it finds the max pain in the market. So and it will find the max greed. It finds its extremes, right? So over the years, that's what I've learned is that. So whenever and you definitely know this from trading is like when you say something can't go somewhere, it's probably going to go there. You're like, there's no way it can go there. Yeah, it probably will. Now it probably will. And there's no way it can go there. No, it probably will. So like you prepare yourself mentally for those things. And that's, as I think, coming back to what you're asking about the top of a cycle and so forth. So my answer is I don't know when the top was. I said it might look like 2017. I'll look at charts closer when it comes time, but I'm prepared in our business in the event that there is a turn. All you can do is be prepared and react at the time that it happens.
So let's go back to that. So now if somebody comes to you, I don't know, whatever, they want to borrow $100,000 from you. What are the criteria in which they can borrow that $100,000? How does that work?
Honestly, I really try to keep it as simple as possible. Hopefully you can attest to it. I just say, send me the address, renovation costs, how much you're buying it for. By those three things, I'm going to look at the asset and determine if it's going to make sense. I know our markets pretty well, and if it does, I'll pin a number to it, usually in the 65% range of what I think the end value is going to be. There'll be some cash to close, typically skin in the game. I want to see that you're going to sweat with me if we do run into a bump. If the numbers make sense on both sides, if you have to close tomorrow, I will. If title's available. So it's very asset driven. It's not like a bank. I know you had some bankers on earlier, and they're in a totally different world than I am.
Absolutely, yeah, sure.
But they care more about the borrower's credibility. I don't know, man. I don't know how to read the W-2, whether it's legit or not legit, or your bank statement, whether you doctored something up. I have no idea. You're going to send me. You're an investor. You know how to play the game. Not you, but most investors.
Oh, I know how to play the game.
You know how to play the game, yeah. So I just assume everybody does know how to play the game, and I go, so let's not trick each other. I don't even care. I'm not even going to ask. Let me see how strong the asset is. If it's good, let's go. And that's how we do it. We keep it very simple. By not asking for W-2s, tax returns, and stuff like that, we keep it as straightforward and simple as we can.
Right. So basically, what you said, just to reiterate, is you're not lending 100% on the asset. So in other words, when they go to closing, again, if it's $100,000 to buy the property, and they need $100,000 to buy the property, part of the money you're lending them goes to the closing, and then the other part would go towards the repair expenses, correct?
Yeah. So the easiest way I explain that is the renovation cost. So I'll give you my maximum exposure number, at which point you'll see the difference between that and the amount. We're going to escrow the entire construction amount to disperse to you. So we'll fund the entire construction amount. The difference between my max amount with the construction reserve and the amount that you need to complete the whole project is how much cash you have to bring to the table. So we fund the entire 100% of the project, essentially, but you're typically going to bring 20% to cash to close, range depending on the deal is typically what I say.
Right, and actually, I like that for a lot of reasons. I think it find people who are more serious. Now, at the same time, you don't care where that money comes from, right?
Nah.
That money could come from anywhere. It could be another loan. As long as you have the first position, you don't even care.
Yeah.
Would you care if it was a second position, though?
I don't do seconds. Yeah, we don't do
No,
seconds.
no. I mean, if the other person at closing,
don't love it.
right? I got you.
Don't love
right,
it.
Right.
It's happened. Don't love it. It depends on the deal. Or technically, our note is structured to not have it, but I also can't technically legally prevent it, right?
Well, I mean, they can always do it the next day.
Exactly.
But if you're saying that you understand it at a closing, then
I'd rather be transparent that you're going to do it. Just tell me.
Yeah, right. I agree. I think you should know. I agree. Now, but that's not going to be a deciding factor because you still have your same numbers, right?
Yeah.
They say it depends, or
yeah. I mean, I'll be a little bit more like my radar will be a little bit further up to see. It depends on the borrower too. If I get somebody that's out of left field, just walked out of a class that doesn't know what they're doing, I'd say, look, you're gonna get yourself in trouble on this one. Don't do it.
Hey, all the people in my classes know what they're doing.
Not your class.
Right, I just want
anybody
to make sure you understood that.
No, I mean, I don't know if Bill was a student or not, but he was good. He was on it.
He's
on it now, so
Yeah.
I had no problems with anybody that comes out of your class.
And thank you.
You know the other classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not Trevor's either. That was a long story.
I don't know.
You don't
Okay.
know what we're talking about. But that's
Gotcha.
fine.
so yeah, but that's just I guess just be upfront. We'll deal with it as it comes. But yeah,
That's great. So all right. So let's talk about somebody. I hate to use the word bankable because obviously you're not at a bank. It's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But how does someone make sure that besides the asset, how do they make sure that they're bankable to you or any other hard money lender?
honestly, well, any other hard money lender is going to be different than me. There's not really too many true hard money lenders around here. Most of them are banks in disguise. That's how it is. So they're going to ask you. Most of the other ones are going to ask you for your W-2s, tax returns, and all this stuff that you're like getting underwritten by a bank because they're being funded by a bank. I'm not. We're privately funded. It's friends, family, money, stuff like that. So where we are would be, honestly, it's the presentation. So if you know your numbers, if you are accurate on your construction numbers, because I already know what they're probably supposed to be. If you're accurate on your ARV, or not accurate as in it has to be the exact same as mine, but within striking distance. If you're tidied up, like if I go, hey, I need you to send me over, hey, this didn't come in correctly, can you send me over your origination docs? Bang, I get an email, and it's in my inbox within minutes. I know that you're running a tight operation. So it's like, am I dealing with a professionally put together person? That helps a lot. That makes it more bankable. Have I dealt with people that are definitely not professionally put together? Sure. But it helps in my world. That's bankable.
I hate paperwork, so I am not a paperwork guy. If you ask me for paperwork, you might not get it until the day before closing.
I trust that you have an assistant that'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
My wife actually.
You're like, okay, perfect. Fine.
And I'm like, do me a favor, send this. But you're absolutely right. I'm terrible with paperwork.
Nah, you were super. That was the first time you and I ever did business, and you were on your game. Like so there was no. You don't know somebody until you do business with them. And
Sure.
And then I was like, yeah, I would easily do business with you any other time. So for sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm not sure. So can I ask you what your rates are, or is that something that is individual with every single person?
No, rates are going to range from like 13-14% is typically what you see annualized over 1 year. And then you're typically going to be about 4 points at closing to use the money. You're going to see hard money rates in the area right now are like 12 to 18%, anywhere in that range, and like 2 to 6 points typically what you run into.
Oh my God, it's 14%. How dare you charge 14%? But the banks are only charging 4%. How could you charge 14%? How many times have people said that to you?
It's like 10 times a day, man.
So what do you say to these people? Because I find that hysterical that they just don't get it, right?
Honestly, I just know we don't have a deal. I just know it's not going to be a deal. I'm going to if I have to explain this, short-term money for people. If you understand how to use short-term money, it's in a massive leverage point for my most savvy clients are like, they have to use it. It's such easy when they build it into their numbers. For every $100,000 you build yourself in $9 or $10,000. If you were cut down to $9 or $10,000 on that deal, you were too skinny to begin with. most of these guys, if they're borrowing 100 grand from me, they're planning on making 40 or 50. And if now they're making 35, 45 instead of 40 or 50, they don't care. Like, they leverage so much of their money to buy that deal, they don't care. But that's what it works out. So every 100 grand, if you do a deal correctly, should cost you somewhere between 9 to 11%. Short-term money runs on the month. So the faster you are, the cheaper the money is. So if you really are super fast, you could be in and out of there at like 6 or 7%. That's pretty rare, but most of the time it's like 9 to 11%.
Now, do you have a minimum lending time? So, if I borrowed money for a month and paid you back, do I have to pay a minimum?
I don't. I like it being open for 3 months. I've had people close it out in under 3 months. It's pretty rare. First one I'll usually, I like to have 3 months of payments. It just didn't make sense to deploy it.
That's only fair. I'm just asking because I would imagine you would. I know I would. Why not, right?
Yeah, we're not crazy. It happens so rarely, so infrequently, though. But we like 3 months. That's about where we stand. I'm pretty flexible. I'm pretty easy to deal with when it comes to this kind of stuff. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to do. If we hit some bumps, I work through things with people all the time. No project ever goes 100% smooth. So
it's true.
We figure it out.
So where does the money come from? Obviously, you're not worth. You don't have $40 million.
Don't have $40 million.
If you did, I'd be pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed that you moved $40 million. Or was it $60 million?
We do about 40 million a year. Yeah.
I'm just impressed by that number in several ways. But so where does this money come from?
So a lot of it is partner money. Not all my money, but a lot of it is partner money, friends, family money. We've been doing it for 10 years. So it's funny, like when you need money anytime in life, you feel like you can't find it. When you don't need money, people are throwing money at you.
Right.
We at this point we say no to taking on new money. So,
so you won't even take more money into your investment pot?
Because
wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, because we feel at this point that we've saturated the marketplace. There's not enough deals to do it, and if we start taking on money making and telling people, hey, we have to put your money in play. Now we're feeling the pressure to do a deal. And when you feel pressure to do a deal as a lender, it jeopardizes the entire integrity of the possible transaction because now you're doing this for yourself, not for the fiduciary responsibility you have to the money. So we actually very rarely take on new money because it's we don't ever want that pressure. I don't have that pressure. My partner Jason doesn't have that pressure. We write the deals. If it's a deal, we'll write it. If it's not a deal, we don't do it.
That's amazing. Cool.
Yeah.
So we got about 30 seconds left.
Cool, man.
What kind of words of wisdom would you give to anybody about anything?
Buy low and know your contractors. How about that? I'd do that for the rest of your life and make a lot of money in this business.
I like it. You didn't even add sell high, right?
I hope you're selling high.
You really do, right? Because you want to get your money back.
That's right. I hope you're selling high. Pay your lenders back. How about that? I don't know. No, man. Just buy low. That's the name of the game. Buy low.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's definitely the key. So wave goodbye to everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, man. I appreciate you being here.